Welcome in to the Rams and San Francisco 49ers preview here on House of Horns. My name is Victor Corona, aka Victor Producer, and joining me as always is Gilbert Manzano, who does it for Sports Illustrated MMQB. He was also a beat writer for the Rams in 2022. But we won't talk about that, Gilbert. How are you, sir? And what's up with all these injuries we're seeing for the 49ers? It seems like they can't catch a break.
Hey, you brought up 2022. That's what happened to the Rams in 2022. A bunch of
Right.
injuries and yeah, for the 49ers it's been going on for the last 2 years. I'm sure Rams
Yep.
fans are not feeling sorry for the 49ers
Oh
injury
no.
luck, but they're still 3-1. The Rams are 3-1. It should still be a big time game. And going off the title that we have here for the live video, like it could either be a blowout game or a trap game. So there's no in between here. I don't think it's going to be a mighty matchup because the 49ers are not at their best, but maybe it becomes a little ugly. Maybe it becomes like a little bit of a trap game and the Rams have to pull out an ugly one, or maybe should I dare go and say maybe the 49ers steal one, or it could potentially be just a blowout. Like who's really
Yeah.
playing for the 49ers right now? We'll get into it, but it's such a weird game. But I think it's still one game that I can still get excited about. I will be there at SoFi Stadium, so I'm trying to find an angle here, but I'm sure a lot of Rams fans are not going to take a. They're not going to just assume a W is going to happen because the 49ers are decimated with injuries.
Yeah, and I guess what makes this matchup intriguing too, it's a short week, right? And you have two division rivals. You have coaches who they know each other really well, so there's not a lot of you know deception here by both teams. But I think at the end of the day, it's whoever has the most talent and should win this game, but we'll see. I mean, it is the NFL. We've seen, weird things happen, especially on Thursday Night Football. We have before we get to our engagement question, Gilbert, and what we have coming up for people. Happy Gilmore's on here, and he says, "Do you think there will be more Rams fans or Niner fans this time around?"
That's a good question, Happy. I think you shouldn't get your hopes up there, Happy. I think it will be a heavy 49ers crowd. Like put it this way, I'm sure a lot of 49er fans have probably already spent money to make the trip or already live in the LA area. Like that's probably if you live in the LA area and you're a 49ers fan, this is probably the one time a year that you get to see your team. You've been saving money. Just because the injury report came out the day before the game, you're not gonna cancel your plan. So I'll be shocked if it's more Rams than 49ers. It could be maybe 50-50. Maybe people sell their tickets back to Rams fans, and or maybe it's like a neutral crowd because the 49ers just don't have their best players out there. I don't know if I see that, but I think it could be 60-40, and that could still be a nice number for the Rams there. I don't know what you think, Vic.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to kind of keep an eye, especially because it's a Thursday night game too, Gilbert. I think if it was on in the weekend on a Sunday, I could see like 70-30, maybe 60-40 49ers fans. But this might be something that where it's closer to like 55-45 49er fans, but we'll see. I mean, and Sean McVay has something to say about that, which we'll get into in our news and notes segment. But we have a great show for you guys here as we preview this matchup between the Rams and the 49ers. We'll get, our storylines for both teams. We'll get some keys to the game for both teams. And then, I mean, not for both teams, for the Rams, for a Rams win. And then we'll give our game predictions. But Gilbert, what's our engagement question of the week for our viewers and listeners?
Yeah, let me know what are the keys to a Rams victory. That is the engagement question of the week. Is it what? Yeah, I'm trying to think of something for the 49ers because okay, is it containing Mac Jones? I can't keep track of who's going to play for the 49ers. I'm sorry. Is it containing Mac Jones? Put a pressure on Mac Jones. Jared Verse just beating up on Mac Jones the way that they did to the other Jones, Daniel Jones, two back-to-back Joneses right there. Uh, Is it game planning for Christian McCaffrey? He's still a threat to be something to be aware of. There's no Ricky Pearsall, no Jauan Jennings, no Brandon Ayuk, no George Kittle, but you still got Christian McCaffrey, and he's a handful, could run and catch out of the backfield. Is it maybe finding ways to get the ball away from Fred Warner? Fred Warner is, I think, in my opinion, the best defensive player in the NFL right now. He's probably the front runner for defensive player of the year. He's playing at an elite level, helping out a young defense. He doesn't have Nick Bosa anymore, so maybe that's why Fred Warner's defense didn't play as well last week. But definitely find ways to keep him out of the game where he can't make an impact play. I think Fred Warner had, I'm trying to remember the play he had against the Jaguars, but he almost had a game changing play. So that could be also another key to the game here.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot to kind of go over because I mean, Mac Jones has been a better quarterback than Brock Purdy this season, Gilbert, when he started games for the 49ers. But you know, you also have old friend Demarcus Robinson there. He might be somebody who has a revenge game against the Rams. Who knows?
Yeah.
So just something to keep an eye on. You know, they still have Trent Williams as well, someone that you need to keep an eye on. He anchors that offensive line for the 49ers. So yeah, a lot of keys. Shout out to Daniel Calderon. He's like, what up, perros?" So what's going on, Daniel? Good to
Roof,
have
roof.
you on here. Roof, roof. All right, Gilbert. Let's get to our Rams news and notes segment plus injury report. You mentioned Gilbert. I'll start off. I'll start with the Rams. Um, Rob Hemenstein and Tyler Higbee were deemed doubtful, so I doubt we see both of those guys. McClendon Jr. sounds like he might be playing right tackle, and then we we see finally after two straight games of Terrence Ferguson being inactive, do we now get to see him be active in this game with no? If Tyler Higbee doesn't go, that's something to kind of keep an eye on there. Gilbert, one thing that I thought kind of stood out, and I kind of wanted to have a conversation with you is Adam Grossland asked what's his name, the offensive coordinator about how they're, you know, how they're keeping him, Terrence Ferguson, active in terms of, you know, since he hasn't been active the last 2 weeks, and I guess it's more of him being able to participate in the scout team, which kind of tells me that he's not hasn't picked up the offense. Gilbert, M-
Yeah.
Mike
Terrence
Lafleur,
Ferguson.
yeah, sorry,
Yeah. Michael Lafleur. Yeah, Ferguson is just not ready. I when a guy who is healthy is just a healthy scratch and active the last couple of weeks. That says it all right there. But yeah, if Higby can't go, maybe you get some play, but also you still got Parkinson, you still got is it Davis Allen.
Davis Allen.
And then also if your offensive line is dealing with injuries, you're probably gonna call up another lineman. So I don't know if the numbers are gonna shake out the way that Ferguson would like, but it's a tough one, man. He's a second round pick. He was drafted ahead of a guy like Elijah Arroyo, who's been making plays for Seattle. He was the Rams' first pick of the draft. Like you want that first pick to be an impact player, and he can't even get on the field. So I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. He did have an injury that he was been dealing with that maybe he's playing catch up and it's just not doing that well. But to me, that was your first pick of the draft, and we all know that Sean McVay wants his tight end to do everything, and it's a lot to ask for. But sometimes just make it easy on the kid. If he's ready to be a pass catcher, make him a pass catcher. If he's not ready to block, don't let him block. But I know that Sean McVay has his ways. He's pretty stubborn with them. You can't really argue because the results tend to be positive. They do well. Uh, but I get to thinking because I think the Rams were connected to the year before. Brock Bowers, you know better than this, but he's an elite pass catcher. He's a so-so blocker, but that being a weapon in the pass game makes up for everything. This season, there was even some rumors where the Rams were interested in Tyler Warren, and he's balling out.
Yeah.
So, and Tyler Warren is a complete tight end. He does everything. He's not as special as a pass catcher as Brock Bowers, but he could block and he does a little bit of everything. He's already doing well in the passing game. For Ferguson, what's a specialty? I don't think he has one right now. And can you be a complete tight end? He's probably far away. I know that we weren't expected to have a discussion on Ferguson right now, But to me, I get what McVay wants, and he's just not getting it from Ferguson right now.
Yeah, and I mean, to the question here from Daniel, it says, "Is that offense that complicated?" We've seen it takes guys. We've seen it with Kyron Williams. He took most of that first year off. I know it was due to injury, but and then same thing with Blake Corum last year, and now it looks like Terran Ferguson is the one. And even though defensively, some of those guys have got done well, whether it's Kobe Turner, whether is Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, and now with Stewart, the rookie outside linebacker, he's also been getting plenty of playing time, and part of it too is because Nick Hampton, I think, was sick, and so he missed a game or two, but still, he's been showing out. But that's just the way it goes sometimes. Sometimes you hit on some dudes later in the rounds, like we saw with Puka, and sometimes those earlier draft picks like the Tutu Atwell, it takes time for them to hit. And sometimes, all you get is one long touchdown per season. But we'll see, Gilbert, what happens there with Terrence Ferguson. But there is an opportunity for him to play in this game with Tyler Higbee being doubtful. Uh, and as you mentioned, for the 49ers, they have a slew of injuries. No Brock Purdy in this game, no Ricky Pearsall, no Jauan Jennings. Jordan Watkins is also out, and so is Robert Beal, the defensive end. And then one last thing here, just in terms of news and notes. Sean McVay on the 49er fans who make the trip to SoFi, he said, quote, "They've certainly got a great fan base. I blame my grandpa for that. A lot of success they had in the early years." So he's saying that the reason why there's a lot of 49er fans is because it has a lot to do with his grandpa and him helping to build that dynasty in the 80s.
Yeah, John McVay, who passed away a couple of years ago, he definitely helped build that dynasty uh, with Bill Walsh there back in the '80s. So, yeah, it is the McVay's fault there for that, but it also is a lot of factors. Obviously,
Yep,
well, the Rams moving away from LA. There's no LA team for what
20
25
years.
years or 20
Yep.
plus years. So naturally, teams gravitate or people gravitate towards other teams, and that's kind of just what it is. And but I feel like now that the Rams are in year 9 of being back in LA, things are starting to shift a little bit. Obviously, the old timers who were fans of the Rams are still around, but now there's a younger generation that's being fans of the Rams. So maybe in a few years they'll even out. It's still a long way to go when it comes to that, but it's something the guys are already used to. Sean McVay's used to it. All the players on the Rams are used to it. There's really not much they could do about it. But hey, the Rams are 3-1. It's a primetime game. Maybe more Rams fans come out to support. We'll see. I'm never gonna knock people for selling tickets because people got to make a living and make a profit. So
Yep.
I'm not one of those people that criticize, oh, don't sell your tickets. It's just I just don't think that's fair to say. Uh, but yeah, it is tough. And then the other part I wanted to address, the Rob Havenstein injury. If he doesn't play, it's gonna really hurt this offensive line. But you kind of caught a break. There was no mention of Nick Bosa because he's on IR. He is done for the season. No Nick Bosa having
Yeah,
to
that's
worry
true.
about him. It's a very young defensive line in San Francisco. So they got a break there, but it's going to be an uphill battle without having Havenstein on the right side.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm with you in terms of the fans and the impact that it's had. I mean, when you leave for 20 years, 20 plus years, that ends up what happens. And during that time, the 49ers won a couple Super Bowls, and so the fan base became really popular here in LA. You had a bunch of transplants here too, so that's what happens. And until you start winning, that's not going to change. And so as long as you continue to win, that's going to change things. We have a comment here from AMS. He says we need a center and a cornerback away from from being super. Let's make some trades and go for it.
Yeah, maybe it's a good time to talk about it because we just published a story at SI.com doing one trade for every team, and there was a good amount of cornerbacks on there. Check that out. There are some they're just I just don't see happening, like Denzel Ward being let go by the Browns. He's a good cornerback, but he's also like 28, 29. Maybe the Browns say you're older now. We don't want to keep paying you. We're not going anywhere. It's time for some younger players. He will be the best cornerback on the market. If it comes down to that, maybe like a distant second or third. I wrote L'Jarius Sneed could be an option because he's not going anywhere with Tennessee. Tennessee's not doing anything. You gotta fix that salary cap. And it looks like a bad contract, and it looks like L'Jarius Sneed is over the hill. But there's an out after this year on his contract. So if the Rams take a gamble on L'Jarius Sneed, who's only still 28, and maybe part of it that he's been struggling is because he's in a crappy team like Tennessee. If he goes over
Yeah.
to a better team, let's be real here. I think L'Jarius Sneed was more of a system cornerback. We saw that all the time with New England, where they had good cornerbacks because the system was good. Then they go elsewhere and they don't do well. I'm not saying the Rams have the same secondary system as KC, but they have good coaching. And I like what Chris Shula does. And then when you have a good front like that, you don't have to be an elite cornerback. Just got to be a reliable one. So I wouldn't mind seeing the Rams taking a chance on L'Jarius Sneed, flip like a fourth round pick, eat the contract. If he sucks, he's not good, cut him at the end of the year. You'll be fine. So I'm just trying to think of options here for the Rams to get better cornerbacks because AMS is I agree with him or them, sorry, who it is. But you got to get better in the secondary. You need some better playmakers in the secondary. So to me, they better be searching that trade market for cornerback.
Yeah, and he also asks, oh, should Quisenberry play at right tackle? It sounds like they like McClendon Jr. there, but we'll see. I mean, Quisenberry should be someone in they look at. I know he's a swing tackle, so he might be somebody. And then one last one here from AMS. It says, why don't we go to four more wide receivers? Says with Whittington and Adwell as our third and fourth, and I mean, we constantly talk about this, Gilbert, with Sean McVay. He loves the 11 personnel. That's what he likes to run. I've been asking for 12 personnel. I can't seem to get that. That's why I thought we see Terrence Ferguson and Higby in the same, uh, you know, on in this on in the game together, but it just hasn't materialized. And so actually someone that's kind of taking advantage of when they do run 12 personnel has been Davis Allen. So maybe that's who it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be Charles Ferguson, but Davis Allen has outplayed him, and that's been part of the reason why he's been inactive. So we'll see what happens. If there's no Higby, I wonder if they just stay with the 11 personnel. We see more of Davis Allen in this game, and if they're planning to block, if we see more of Corey Parkinson. So just something to kind of keep an eye on, especially on a short week.
Yeah, after what happened last week with Tutu Atwell getting the touchdown, I'm not gonna crap on people saying they should have more Atwell, more Jordan Whittington. So it could happen, But I'm gonna say this: I still think McVay is gonna go back to just feeding Devontae and Puka. Like
Right.
I don't know, like you don't even need a third. You don't need a third wide receiver. Like what do you call that if or just you just have 10 guys on the field? But for whatever reason, that third row, fourth row for wide receiver, they just non-existent. They don't like to
Yeah.
do it, and it's not even just a Sean McVay thing. It's also a Matthew Stafford thing. He always feeds the star playmakers. He's gonna have multiple triple crown winners probably with Puka Nakua right now and Cooper Cup and Megatron back when with
Yep.
Detroit. Every now and then you'll get a Tutu Atwell bomb, but don't expect it on a weekly basis. And maybe I shouldn't say things like that after what happened last week. But that was his only catch, his first catch of the season. Like it's
Yeah,
just not gonna be a thing
he
here.
even said, well, first of all, there was 10 men on the field, and then
Oh
for
yeah,
for the Colts,
defensively.
one, and then two, he said that he wasn't supposed to be the one that got the ball. It just the guy who just retired, Savion Howard, tripped on the play, and he was able to catch the ball and go the distance. So maybe that was part of the reason why Savion Howard ended up retiring.
Yeah, it's like man, Tutu Atwell went off here. Like what the hell? What are we doing here? But I'm
Yeah.
not surprised by the way with Xavier Howard retiring.
Yeah, neither am I. I mean, it was everybody was picking on him. That's who they were. All the teams were going after because he he was done. He was over the hill, like you just said about Ledarius Need. You just hope that he's not there yet if you trade for him. But you just never know. Some of these guys, that's what ends up happening. Gilbert, is that a lot of people just want names that they know, and they were like, "Well, why don't we go trade for that?" And so that's where you get in trouble. Gilbert, let's get to Rams and 49ers storylines, and let's start off here with the 49ers. You've been, someone that has not been a fan of, the in terms of the 49ers getting into the playoffs, because before the season, because of their schedule. You said, hey, just because it looks like they have an easy schedule going into the season doesn't mean that it's going to be an easy schedule. Injuries have hit this team really hard, but one of the things that you look at is they still have dudes on there, that people recognize that can make them a dangerous team. We mentioned, Christian McCaffrey, Fred Warner, Brock Purdy, Trent Williams. You go up and down. Nick Bosa before he went down with the injury. So now that you kind of had time to kind of evaluate this team, do you still see him as a play, or do you not see them as a playoff still, or have they kind of changed your mind?
I've changed my tune a bit. They are not contenders; they're pretenders, and let's like define that. Like pretenders could still make the playoffs. They're just gonna probably be one and done. They're not gonna do much in the playoffs. Uh, you know, but the 49ers are survivors. They're gonna stack enough wins, and it's not even just about like the easy schedule. Like the people who were harping on this easy schedule, like who would have thought the Jaguars would be 3-1? It's just never that predictable. Like the Jaguars are a surprise team, and that's why the beauty of the offseason, we're always arguing with each other. That's not gonna happen. You're delusional. You're not. That's never gonna happen, and it has gonna happen. So that was kind of an issue with the easy schedule narrative. So like who would have thought the first loss would have been the Jaguars game? The point is to me, they're a competitive team. They're well coached, and I think from that aspect, they could probably get 10 wins, and that should be good enough for a wild card spot. I don't think they're the best team in the NFC West. I still think that's the Rams there. But when it comes to the big picture, they're not going to be on the level of Detroit. They're not going to. We'll find out about. Well, we won't find out this week because the 49ers are decimated with injuries. But I don't think they're on the level of the Rams. They're not on the level of the Eagles. They are pretenders, but it's it just seems like it's not the worst tag because they're a little bit of a surprise team as well. When you're winning this many games, when you're hurt, also you're winning this many games when you pretty much shipped out your entire defense in the offseason. It was supposed to be kind of a like a retooling season. So in a way, they are exceeding expectations. But I still view the 49ers like the team from 2 years ago. That was my whole deal. It's like they're not a Cinderella team. They still have a lot of talent here. Like, can we start pretending like they're the little engine that could, and they're
Right.
gonna get an easy schedule? Like that was my whole thing. I was just annoyed, but they proved me wrong. They're fighters. They're gonna be frisky the whole year, but they're not gonna be Super Bowl contenders. Like they're just not. They're gonna lose in the first round if they make it. They're just different. They just seem there's something off there where like you know, it's kind of maybe similar to that Rams year in 2023. I think that team was a little better than that 49er team because you still had freaking Aaron Donald there. And they kept that playoff game, remember, against the Lions very close. I think if the 49ers get in, they might get crushed in the first round. They still need a couple more pieces to fully retool and be a Super Bowl contender, but they are better than what I thought.
Yeah, I'm with you. I thought the reason I liked them in terms of making the playoffs this season wasn't just the schedule. It was also because they kind of reminded me of the Rams from 2 years ago when they went to the playoffs and lost to the Lions. And I think part of it too is you look at the coaching, you look at the turnaround that Shanahan always has, like a roller coaster where he has a bad season, then he comes back and they get into the playoffs. You add that up with the fourth place schedule, and you look at, like I said, you look around the roster, and they still have talent there. They still have names, and then you bring in someone like Robert Sala back, and he's able to kind of, exceed expectations defensively. And they were playing really good up until Nick Bosa got hurt. And then last week against the Jaguars, they had no pressures and no hurries, Gilbert, because they have no pass rush. and so you're having Fred Warner having to do everything, and he just can't do everything, unfortunately. And eventually, the talent catches up, the injuries catch up to you, and so that's my biggest thing with him is like, are the injuries going to be the thing that keeps them from making the playoffs? Because eventually, they just catch up, and and that's the thing with the Shanahan. Whether it's the dad or him, you just start getting your players always end up hurt, and I think that's been the biggest thing for both of them is you just hope that for once they can stay healthy, and they just haven't been able to. And I'm sure they'll probably end up firing their strength and conditioning coach, even though like injuries are part of football, and sometimes it's just if you get lucky or not. I mean, we're seeing it with the Baltimore Ravens right now. They're just getting destroyed with injuries, and that's just you end up being that team from hell. We saw it with the Rams, and when you were covering them in 2022, you just don't know when the barrage of injuries. You just hope you can maintain them, and you look at what's going on, going into this game. You just can't have that many guys getting hurt and expect to win on a daily basis or on a weekly basis here.
Yeah, I hope that you're right that the injuries not prevent the 49ers from making the playoffs because that was my prediction in the offseason. But I think they have a good chance to still make it, and I know the NFC is a lot more loaded than the AFC because the AFC playoff picture, the bottom half is just a field of pretenders, at least in my eyes, and the NFC, I'm just not sold on Seattle yet, and the 49ers did beat Seattle in week 1 in Seattle when they were healthy. So that kind of tells you what kind of team they have when they're healthy. But again, week 1 games are always a little deceiving, right? Because you don't people
Right.
are not in rhythm yet. And then the other part is like we all thought the Packers are going to be this like amazing team, and they're 2-1-1 right now. They're the 7th seed. So I think the playoff picture is going to change a little bit. The 49ers are still near the top of the standings. That's not going to be the case. I feel like they're going to drop, but I think not enough to maybe be out of the playoff picture. Like you have teams like Atlanta. I'm looking at it right now. You have Atlanta who could maybe sneak in. Minnesota, I don't see it. Arizona, I'm done. Chicago, There's Washington too, maybe, but they haven't looked that good. So there's a cluster of 2-2 teams or that are very talented, but there's a lot of teams I'm like, it's not a lock. It's not a for sure. So to
Yeah.
me, I'm gonna say the 49ers still have a good chance. But you're right. The injuries are starting to catch up here. But say George Kittle comes back, maybe Brock Purdy finds a rhythm. Pearsall comes back healthy too. Jauan Jennings, maybe Brandon Ayuk comes back. That's enough for them, especially being 3-1. I think helps out too. To kind of have some losses right now with the injury wave. But yeah, I'm not ready to think this team has no chance to make the playoffs. But again, if that happens, I'll take the victory lap.
Yeah, and I mean, as you mentioned, being 3-1 is part of the reason I think that they're sitting, four of these guys in this game. You after this, you have a mini buy, and so you can afford to get healthy. I just don't know, like we said, if they have enough to make it down the stretch. We'll see, but they have the coaching there, the pedigree to be able to kind of sneak into the playoffs and perhaps be a 7 seed. And then once you get into the playoffs, you just never know. But it's just the injuries eventually just catch up to you, and so you know, before the season, I thought they were a lock to get into the playoffs, whether it was a 7 or a 6 seed. Just with all the injuries now, Gilbert, I have a lot of questions, and so I'm sure a lot of 49ers have. At least the ones that I've talked to, they just don't see them. They say
Mm.
that they're probably when they were 3-0, they were the worst 3-0 team according to them. To the ones I talked to, so
Well, to me, it was
we'll see.
Indianapolis. They were fifth. They were fifth
Yeah,
from the three teams. It was
yeah.
Indianapolis was six. But yeah, if they don't get a pass rusher at the deadline, maybe you're right. Maybe they won't do anything because that was the first time we saw him without Nick Bosa, and we saw the difference.
Yeah, and so we'll see what happens, but I think that feels like the biggest storyline coming out of from the 49ers. And I mean, with the four injuries going, the four guys being out, Purdy, Jauan Jennings, Pearsall, and then I'm sure I'm forgetting another name. I guess CJ West or something. One of the no, Jordan Watkins, the receiver. I mean, it just tells you it's going to be an uphill battle for them to make the playoffs. It helps that they're 3-1, and we'll see what happens on Thursday night. But yeah, it's going to get harder for them, and you got to start looking at when the bye week is, and hopefully they can get healthy by then. But it's tough when you have a lot of injuries to deal with. And then moving over to the Rams, Gilbert. Um, you know, we've kind of talked about all the things going on with them, whether it's been offensively, improving the red zone offense, defensively, kind of evaluating the secondary. As you said, you've talked about some of the guys out there that are going to be, in the market there if you're looking to trade for a cornerback. And we had a question here from AMS as well, in terms of what they can be looking for. He said, "What do you think? Do you think the cornerback we got from Seattle gets some snaps tomorrow, D Brown?" And they should, because I mean, especially with the performance that we saw from Emmanuel Forbes, like uh, ever since Witherspoon went down,Atello Witherspoon went down. It's just this team has the secondary hasn't looked as good. There's a reason why Darius Williams was inactive for the first week. It wouldn't hurt to put out D Brown out there and let him see what he has, because I mean Emmanuel Force hasn't been good the last 2 weeks, Gilbert.
Yeah, was Trey Brown inactive last week? I
Trey
forget.
Brown, sorry. Is it Trey Brown or
Yeah, yeah, Trey Brown.
Trey
Uh,
Brown?
he is, yeah, Trey Brown, with
Trey
the
Brown.
apostrophe at the end of Trey.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I'm not. I don't think he was. Was he inactive or was he just didn't
I
play? I
didn't I
forget.
didn't see him out on the field. I just
Yeah,
saw Darius Williams and I saw Emmanuel Forbes, and Emmanuel Forbes just kept getting beat by
yeah,
Michael Pittman Jr.
yeah. I think we got to give up on Emmanuel Forbes. So I'll say he gets a little bit of a run this week, or maybe they save him for another week because of what wide receivers do the 49ers have. Uh,
Right.
Maybe give AJ Green a shot there, not the former wide receiver for the Bengals. Maybe that guy could help out this secondary. Yeah, that was a little shot there. But yeah, you got to find something. Maybe that's the other thing. Maybe this is a game to experiment with your secondary. Maybe Trey Brown gets a little more run because he could be trusted to defend whoever the hell is going to play for the 49ers tomorrow. Uh, but yeah, you got to figure something out, man. And this is a game to experiment a little bit. You're not gonna get far with this crew. Like, let's face it, we know that the Rams probably know that. They got to make a move, or they got to find a better rotation. Maybe switch up the scheme a little bit. They got to do something because it's just not a good secondary. They don't have a lot of talent. Uh, Sometimes you have schemes that are built on bending, but don't break. Bend, don't break. And that can only get you so far too sometimes. So regardless, they need something different. Scheme, personnel, whatever. Figure it out.
And then talking about the secondary in terms of like both in terms of the team now, we're at the quarter mark of the season, right? It's been 4 games. I know there's eight. I know there's 17 games now. So you would pretty much say, well, it's like, is it 4.5? Is it at the 5 game mark? We're gonna go with 4 here, Gilbert. So, from your perspective here, Gilbert, what is the state of the Rams at the quarter mark of the season? What would you like to see them improve? We talked about perhaps trading for a cornerback. We've talked about the red zone and some of the efficiencies there, inefficiencies, I should say. Like, where are you with this team? And then, what's the next step for them going forward? And like, what would be something for the next quarter that you would like to see an improvement on for them to
Yeah.
take a step forward?
Honestly, for a short summary, I think they're on track. Nothing has been surprising to me. Uh, they got a good front. They got some good wide receivers. Devontae Adams being thrown into the offense has been seamless. But the holes have been issues. The secondary, I've been screaming about the secondary all off season. Offensive line is a little suspect. I've been saying that all off season. The one surprise though is Nate Landman. I think he's a legit linebacker. He's not going to be your Zach Vaughn, but he's going to be a very good player. Is that enough for the back end? I don't think so. But they are on track. We saw the schedule, and I kept saying they're not going to be 1-4 this year. They're playing the freaking AFC South 3 times out of four to start the year. And for the most part, I got that one right. They beat the Titans, they beat the Colts, they beat uh, the Texans in Week 1, and they should have beaten the Eagles. That one, if it would have felt a lot for the Rams. Probably would have felt a lot better if they got that one and be 4-0 right now. Uh, so they are on track, and this is where I always take the turn to negative town. They still seem the same from last year. They still seem like a divisional team, and there's a lot of football left to develop into a real contender. But to me, there's levels to it, and there's two teams at the top of the NFC, Detroit and Philly, and we know both teams have gotten the best of the Rams the last couple of years. It's just what it is. They're the two best teams right now. I know the Packers have had the number of the Rams, but I think the Rams are better than the Packers. I think the Rams are better than the Buccaneers. So they might be the third best team in the NFC, but like a distant third. And that's still a divisional team, right? Divisional round team. So they're on track. They're doing what they're supposed to do. It's just a secondary. It's concerning. Imagine playing all the weapons in Detroit with that secondary. Like your pass rush better be on point, elite. But the good thing about having dominant pass rushers, you could probably get that on any given Sunday. Elite pass rush. You could definitely disrupt the rhythm of Jared Goff and give him a nightmare. It almost happened in Philadelphia in week 3. So that's not out of the picture. And I think that's what the Rams are banking on. But boy, would you feel a lot more security if you had a better cornerback. And if they get that on the market, I think that could be a big game changer. But it's not going to be out there. They just maybe it's depth. Maybe you get 2 solid cornerbacks that won't cost you a lot of draft picks, and you just build depth. That could be a good thing too, because you're not going to find a star out there. At least I think. I don't think you're going to find a big star on the market right now.
Yeah, and I mean, I just feel with the offense, you can fix the red zone efficiencies. When you look at the fact that they're the second least, they've gone on 3 and outs the second least amount of times to the Colts, who had like 3 straight games where they didn't punt. So there's a reason why they're number one. But the fact that the Rams are the second, least team that goes 3 and out, that tells you that the offense is good enough to be able to score points. Now, once you get in the red zone, you got to turn those into touchdowns. And so you can see Sean McVay fixing that. I think where you're coming from is the defense, and it's like you look at the talent on that secondary, and you can't fix that unless you trade for someone. And so that is something that they're gonna have to fix down the road. But for me, I think I like where they were gonna be at. Like we both said that they're gonna win this division. I think the thing you got to start looking at now as you go quarter to quarter here through the season is you want to stack up wins, one, and you want to win the division, two, and then three, you want to make sure you finish ahead of the Lions and the Eagles. You want to be able to host those games because you know they were able to host the 49ers on their way to the Super Bowl. Yes, they started on the road against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers during that run, but it helps a lot when you're at home as opposed to having to go to Detroit, where we know the fans are rowdy there. It's hard to win there, and then the same thing with the Eagles, and so that just helps you out down the road. And I feel like, look, the schedule, the schedule is what it is, right? This is a schedule that was given. Now you just take advantage of it. If you can go 3-1, 4-0 in these quarter marks, then you should be set up well to be able to host a couple of playoff games. So for me, that's where I'm at with this team. At the quarter mark, it's like you've done your job. You could have gone 4-0 here. Instead you're 3-1. Can you continue to do that going forward as you go through each of the quarters remaining, the last 3 quarters of the season?
Yeah, I know whenever I talk big picture about the Rams, it might come off as negative, but it's more about like, okay, they're good enough for us to talk about this like down the road stuff. Like for some teams, don't even bother thinking about tiebreakers or playoff picture. Like, you win the damn games first. I think with the Rams, they feel like they could win the division. They feel like a playoff team. And that's why I've been harsh on the Eagles game. Like, that could be a crucial tiebreaker game that you
Yeah,
lost because you couldn't pull it out. And I don't see Philly losing more than 3 games. It might be 15-2, to be honest. Same thing with Detroit. Maybe they lose 3 games. So when the Rams play Detroit later this season, they better win that game. That could be a crucial game for the standings too. So
and the good
I,
thing,
I
all these teams face each other. The Bucks, the Lions, the Eagles, and the Rams are all gonna face each other this year.
yeah, and I haven't really gotten a chance to check the other teams' schedule, but honestly, I was just glancing at the Rams one. It's not that difficult. They do face the Lions later on, but most games from here on out, they are going to be the favorites. But there's going to be like a sneaky game where like the Jaguars are coming up in a couple of weeks. That could be kind of an intriguing game, but again, it's the AFC South. So for the most part, they're going to stack up and rack up all these wins here. But that's what we're talking about, the big picture, because like, are you good enough to beat the Detroit Lions in Philly? I don't see it right now. But hey, when they play Detroit later on and they win that one, things are gonna be looking up on the up and
Oh
up.
yeah,
But for right now,
and
it's like you said, stack up the wins.
yeah, and things can change. I mean, we looked at that Ravens game and everybody was like, "Well,
That's
that's
true.
probably going to be a loss." And now with maybe no Lamar, if the way that defense looks, hey, maybe that was one that I had circled as, oh, that's gonna tell me a lot about the Rams. Now I don't see it that way. Now I'm looking at games like against the Buccaneers, games against the Lions. So that's why I'm like, that's the way I'm looking at it. You're looking at
Seattle could be
this
tough
is
twice.
yep, yeah, those division games, and that's why you have to take advantage. Like, hey, the 49ers have 4 guys out. Who cares? Take care of business.
Mhm.
Don't worry about it. And it doesn't matter if it's pretty or not. You just have to make sure that you take care of business, especially on a short week, Gilbert.
Yeah, yeah. Again, it goes back to me being a no to people saying the schedule is easy. Like, who knows in the offseason? Like,
Yeah.
Ravens game, not so hard. Jaguars game, much more difficult than we thought. It's just the way it is. The
Yeah.
NFL is just such a surprising league, and things could change very quickly. We're talking about the Rams being a potential lock for the playoffs, but you just never know. So,
Nope.
injuries happen at the worst time, so you got to maximize all these victories each 1 week at a time.
Yeah, that's just the way it goes sometimes, and you just never know. That's why it's say it's week. It's a week to week league. You never know. You can see an upset here and there, but all right, Gilbert. Before we move to our keys, the keys to a Rams win here versus the 49ers. I want to get to some of these comments here. We have Brian Smith. He says, I'm seeing a trap game. The cardiac kicks will squeak it out 20-17. I don't know if he means the I'm guessing it's the Rams, right? Winning here 20-17. Are they the cardiac kicks?
Yeah, because they came back to beat the Colts. That's my
Colts.
guess there. They
And then they beat the Texans
Yeah,
in a
yeah,
close
that was a
game.
close one too, and they almost had a what was it called, cardiac arrest on the Eagles game too. So there you go.
Yeah. And then Henry Camacho brings up a great point here. He said Shanahan might have made a mistake by playing Purdy against the Jaguars. He re-aggravated his bad toe. Should have saved him for the Rams.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, that was not a good play there. Probably should have just waited for the Rams game, and now they're thinking, okay, well, now let's save them for the 10 days rest. So it definitely changed their whole thinking there.
Yeah, and then we brought it up on our game week with the compas. Make sure you go and check it out. We talk more about the betting angle to this game there, but I did say that on there that I feel like Purdy might have pushed himself just because we saw what happened. He lost his job to Jimmy G lost his job to Brock Purdy, and maybe he saw Mac Jones actually playing really well, then being 2-0 with Mac Jones, and he's like, I better make sure I come back and I don't get Wally Pip. So maybe that's the reason why he came back and he pushed himself to play in that game, and now he won't be ready to play in this game. And that was the other thing too. We'll get into the whole Mac Jones of it all, Gilbert, for our keys because his stats are actually way better than Purdy so far this season. And then AMS is asking, how come we always play the Ravens every year? It just depends on when there's that whole rotation. where you play the NFC North, and then it depends on where you were at. I think that year they were I think they played the NFC North, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Um,
AFC North.
AFC North, yeah. And so,
Yeah,
you have that rotation where the NFC plays the one division uh from the AFC, and it just happened that that one year was the AFC North, and it was the Ravens. This year, that's really why it happened. They're the number one team from the AFC North.
yeah. So yeah, a couple of years ago, I think it was 2023. They, like Victor mentioned, they played all four teams in the
So
AFC North.
yep,
And then now it's that weird wrinkle where
right,
you get that extra intra conference game, and it
right.
depends on who finishes where. And I guess this year the extra conference game is against the AFC North, and it's like, okay, both the Ravens and the Rams finished first place, so they play each other. And I want to say the 49ers were last, right, last year.
Yeah, they get the
So
Browns,
we get
and
the
then
Browns. There you go.
yeah.
That's the
Yeah,
way it is. So
and so forth. I think it's the Seahawks and the Seahawks and the Steelers are playing each other. Yep. And then it's the Bengals and the Cardinals.
Cardinals, yeah. So that's pretty
Yep.
much the way it is. But I honestly don't remember those AFC North games in 2023 outside the Ravens game. I can't remember the Steelers game, Browns. So maybe it might be a different reason. And I can't remember what's the other one. The Bengals. Did they play the Bengals that year? Oh, they did. They played them on Monday night. Remember?
Yep.
And no Burrow was in that game. I remember that.
Again. It hasn't changed in a couple years
Yeah,
either.
again.
Just a couple more things. Brian Smith says, "Yep, Rams 2017." He also says we should be 2-2. This team isn't a Super Bowl caliber team. So, there you go.
Keeping it
You're
real.
not the only negative one here,
There you
Gilbert.
go, Brian. He's a realist. I like it.
Yeah, Delver Salgado says jumping in late, just run the ball. Kyron running
Yeah.
inspired. Go Rams, puros cuernos, and then Rams. Uh, RPTN says first versus first, so that's the
Yeah.
reason why the Rams and the Ravens are facing each other this year. And then Henry Camacho says the Niners are paying Purdy too much for him to sit. The decision might have to come from above.
Yeah. One thing about Purdy, he has his money, so he doesn't have to rush to play. But there's a lot of things that go into it too, as well.
Yeah. And then Henry says, interesting that the Niners have a lot of soft tissue injuries. Could be a training issue. And like I said, it's a Shanahan thing, even with the dad, man. Like we saw what happened in Washington. RG3 got hurt. The running backs there would end up getting hurt. And then we've seen a long list of running backs getting hurt for Kyle Shanahan too, with the whether it's been with the Falcons and now with the 49ers. Alexander Edge says, with all the 49er injuries, should be an easy win. Just worried how we seem to play to other teams' level. There's also that. I still see the Rams win horns up.
Yeah, no, we'll see. The Rams do like to make it interesting, so it's good to see some of these comments of people being concerned a little bit.
Yep. All right, Gilbert. Keys to a Rams win. We'll start out on defense, Gilbert. What do you got?
Uh, yeah. Again, Mac Jones is kind of like Indiana Jones, Daniel Jones. Put pressure, rattle him. He will make mistakes. We saw that ugly interception against the Cardinals. Luckily for Mac Jones, Kyler Murray's not that good. So he opened the door for the 49ers to regain momentum and win the game, which that's what occurred. But yeah, Mac Jones, the thing about him, he likes to live a little on the dangerous side. He's gonna push the ball, but he has no wide receivers to push the ball. But it's in his nature. He's gonna make a mistake. So bait him, put pressure, rattle him, and maybe this could be a game where the secondary doesn't really necessarily cover well, but maybe they take the ball away.
Yeah, one of the things I don't know if you saw, but Adam Grossland was talking about the Rhino package because I asked him, I wanted to know. I was like, wait, did they change the name now that Hoyt isn't there? Because they had Jared Burrs blitzing from the middle linebacker spot, and so I was like, wait, so they're calling it the Rhino package now because of Jared Burrs, but it just they either call it the Cheetah package or the Rhino package, and that'll be something to see. I'm interested to see how much of it we see this week, where they move Jared Verse around here to try to put pressure on Mac Jones. But one thing that I thought was interesting with comparing the stats from Purdy to Mac Jones, Brock Purdy likes to target the running backs and the tight ends, and that's where he has the most success. Mac Jones likes to spread the ball around, and so I think for me, I think the key is with you know Pearsall out, Jennings out. I think the main thing is to key on CMC. Don't you know the Rams have been really good about limiting the rushing yards from all these really good running backs. I think in this game you want to limit his catches out of the backfield because that's where he's most dangerous. He's not uh, as dangerous as he was at the beginning of his career, where he can get between the tackles and get outside. His big thing is coming out of the backfield and lining up as a receiver. He's been killing teams that way. That's where he's getting a lot of his yardage, Gilbert. So limit that, I think. And like you said, just continue to put pressure on the quarterback. And they've been really good at that.
Yeah, he's gonna get a whole lot of touches in the passing game and the running game. It could be a big Christian McCaffrey fantasy football day, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna be a big in terms of real football because just having one guy do everything usually doesn't lead to good results. But he's gonna get the ball a whole lot.
Yeah. And I mean, to the point here, Henry says CMC is going to get burned out this season if the Rams key on him. They're Jones to pass.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
definitely. It's
We might see
it's a
like,
tough one for it's tough because you don't want to burn out CMC this early, but what other options you got?
yeah, you got nothing else, and that's part of the problem with Shanahan is that usually ends up happening. Rams RPTN says defense will feast here as they should. You got to take advantage of all the injuries here, and then we got our guy the Worm. We haven't heard from him. He left a
Yeah,
couple of comments here for us, so I've been responding to him. So it's good to see and hear from the Worm. He said, Yo, guys, good to be with y'all. Kemp Curl will make more plays. Yeah, he was the defensive player of the for the Rams last week against the Colts. 2 interceptions. He ended up with 8 tackles and 1 tackle for loss. So yeah, Cam Curl has been really good this season. And then one more here from Henry. He says Landman will spy CMC. He's been really good about he's been really good against the really good running backs. We saw Jonathan Taylor end up with less than 100 yards. Same with Saquon Barkley. So yeah, Landman, like as you mentioned earlier, Gilbert, he's been really good for this defense. Now to the offense, Gilbert. What do you got for a key here?
yeah. I'll keep it quick here. Again, it's one of these games where like it could be a blowout or a track game, and I could definitely see a blowout. Uh, but just keep it simple. That might be enough to just blow out the shorthanded team. Puka Nakua, could definitely have a massive game against a very young defense. It's like I think the again, I'm not getting complicated, but the pre-snap read, if you're able to move around Fred Warner away from when the ball's gonna go, you're gonna have so much success because this is a very young team. And again, you don't have Nick Bosa. Like Nick Bosa and Fred Warner were holding it down, and now you just have Fred. So find a way to get them off your playmakers, get them away from Puka Nakua, get them away from the running game, be balanced, have a good rushing attack with Blake Corum and Kyron, and it's okay. Or you got Devontae too, but go to your big guns here and maybe build a big time lead where it doesn't become a trap game.
Yeah, and I think one of the ways you do that to kind of counter Fred Warner kind of wrecking your game is you get under center. And I know I mentioned this last week, but they're the best. The Rams offense is the best when they're under center and they're able to use play action. Like they were the number 2 team going into that game against the Colts. Number 1 was the Colts. And so run play action, be able to, get the run started with Kyron Williams and Blake Corum, continue to use that balance of those both of those backs and be able to run play action and then continue to stay out of 3 and outs. They've been the second least, they're the second least team to go 3 and out. So continue to do that and then just take advantage of the red zone finally. Like and don't settle for field goals. Score touchdowns when you're in the red zone, Gilbert.
Yeah, again, jump out to a big lead, and you do that by getting touchdowns, and then this shorthanded team will definitely be mentally drained and like, okay, it's an uphill battle. We cannot survive.
Yeah. Let's get to our comments here. We have Jorge who's joining us from What's Up Bolts. He says, "What are the keys to a Chargers win?" He's like, "Nope, never mind. This House of Horns." He's
Yeah,
like, "What up, dog?
wrong show, Jorge.
We're on
But
show there."
thank you for
Uh,
jumping on.
the Worm says if the Rams don't run the ball over, they should win easily. So just
Yeah,
continue. And then Henry Camacho also, I would like to see Cora redeem himself. I want to see him score a touchdown in this game, Gilbert. He's earned it. He's been running the ball really well. So I think Corum is someone that we could get a touchdown from in this game.
yeah, I'm with you again. Keep both guys involved. Not Seattle, where like you're ruining the momentum on Kenneth Walker and bringing in Charbonnet, but find a good balance to get both guys involved.
Yeah, and then Jorge says he loves you, but don't tell
Thank
Dan
you.
about it.
I will. I
Uh,
will definitely tell him, Jorge.
yeah, and then one last one here from Rams RPTN. He's just hoping we see Jarquez Hunter in the second half. Yeah, he hasn't been active. I think now with if Higby and Havenstein don't play in this game, you might see him elevated. I like to see him out there. I know they like Jordan Whittington to return kicks and punts, but I like to see him in special teams at least contribute something, at least make them active. That's another guy, another high draft pick that they haven't used, Gilbert.
Yeah, that's definitely a storyline that's kind of been strange. The rookies are not being utilized, and that's usually not a thing for the Rams. They find ways to get the rookies to get involved.
Yeah, but yep, that's all the comments we have. Give us your scores. Let us know, how you see this game going and what the score will be. Yeah, it's gonna be. I just, well, let's get to the game predictions here, or let's get to the line. I should say the Rams are 7.5 point favorites. Gilbert, the over under here is 44.5. What's the right side of this line?
Yeah, I think this is too high. Maybe it could be a blowout, but I personally I don't like taking lines this big, so I will not lay the points with the Rams. I will give the points to the 49ers, but I'll share more in a bit.
Yeah, I'm with you. And then part of it too is that it doesn't matter with these two coaches and these two teams. It's always a close game. It's always a one score game. So I'm with you. Like that's a lot of points. I actually like the under in this game, Gilbert, just because it's a short week.
Mhm.
You're getting 44. I liked it when it was 49.5. It's gone down to 44.5 now. So I got to keep an eye on that. But yeah, I like the under. I just don't see how we get a lot of points in this game, especially if the Rams settle for field goals.
Yeah, but I'm ready to make my pick, Vic. I gotta get going here in a bit. I
Yep.
know we're a little behind today,
Yep.
uh,
Yep.
but
Let's get
for
to it. Go
me,
ahead.
I will go and take the Rams here. I think you're onto something, Victor, on this being low scoring. I did give the spread to the 49ers, so I will go something like what? Yeah, let's go something weird like 19-13, low scoring. Rams win. Rams, I think, pull out to a double digit lead early on. Uh, and then the 49ers kind of slowly chip away, and it's kind of an ugly game in the second half. So 19-13, Rams win this one.
Yeah, it's funny because I have it 22-21 Rams. Like it's just one of
Oh,
those where the 49ers score a late touchdown there just to make it close. And like they keep going for 2 point conversions and they miss out on one. So it comes out to 22-21. I just have the Rams winning. These two teams, it doesn't matter if who's hurt, they're always in one score games. So I just don't see a blowout. I know there's a bunch of injuries here, but it's a short week. Guys are beat up. I just think and it's a divisional game. It's going to be a close game. But I have the Rams winning this game. Rams, RPTN, he has it 33-9.
wow.
No touchdowns allowed by the Rams, which,
Woo!
yep.
Blowout.
Gilbert Salgado, same thing. Rams 33,
Woo!
Winers 13. So yeah, blowout here. Henry Camacho said this is a good game to see if the Rams can get pressure with four defenders. If they run that Rhino or Cheetah, you can get a lot of pressure with those five guys up there. Brian Smith said, "What about the rookie D tackle Hamilton? Has he even been active on game day yet? I don't know, but Tyler Davis has been great, Gilbert. I mean, he's been the unsung hero on that defensive line. I know we talk about Kobe Turner and Jared Verse and Byron Young, but Tyler, what is his name again? Tyler Smith?
Davis.
Oh, the Tyler Davis, he's been great this season. He's someone that we need to talk more about going forward. The Worm says realistically 24-21 Rams win. And then Alexander H, Rams 27, 49ers 19, another 2-2 touchdown. So there you go. Hey, we
I
can't
doubt
laugh
it.
anymore because it came through Alexander H
I
and
doubt it.
we and James Wheelock called it. So I got to give him props there. So there
The
we go,
next touchdown
Gilbert.
will come in 2 months. I'll promise you.
Yeah. Let's get a run. What is Delver said? Let's get a run back in this game. Yes, finally, like get a either a kickoff return or a punt
Ooh,
return. That'd be
yeah,
great in this game. All right,
that's
Gilbert.
more like
That's all we have for everybody. Everybody got their predictions in. If not, leave them in the comments. We'll get to them after the show. But it's good to be back. A short week here. We'll be on post game, Gilbert. It will be at Gilbert will be at the game tomorrow. He'll be there on SoFi. So whenever he can give us 10, 20 minutes, whatever it is after the game from SoFi, we'll take it and we'll join you guys then.
yeah. So definitely check out House of Horns tomorrow after the game. And then check out everything we're doing on Compas on the Beat. And just got a bunch of content here. We've been delivering a bunch of information all week. So definitely check that out. Check that out. And if you have a bunch of Rams fans, friends or who are Rams fans, let them know about House of Horns. Spread the word. We love to see all the comments here. It's usually a good turnout when they're playing the 49ers. People get fired up and have massive prediction scores like 33-9. That's wild, but hey, it could happen. Or 33-13. That it's a good rivalry, and I love that everybody's into it. And hopefully you enjoyed the show. But it's time to get going. On that note, nos vamos, pues.